Okay, so it all kicked off with this headline that honestly sounded like a total joke. The United States wants to buy Greenland. But it wasn't a joke. And this sudden obsession with a giant island of ice has revealed a brewing global power struggle that's been hiding in plain sight. So, let's get into it, because what's really happening here is way more important than you might think. I mean, on the surface, it sounds crazy, right? Why on earth would anyone want to buy Greenland? It's this massive, remote, seemingly empty land of ice and snow. What could possibly make it so valuable that the world's most powerful countries are all suddenly laser-focused on it? Well, we're going to peel back the layers of this puzzle. So first, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale here. A whopping 80% of Greenland, which is the world's largest island, by the way, is covered by a permanent sheet of ice. And in some spots, that ice is over 2 kilometers deep. It's basically a frozen continent. And get this, even though it's bigger than Mexico, Indonesia, and Saudi Arabia combined, its population is tiny. Just 57,000 people call it home. And almost all of them live right on the coast, in these little slivers of land where the ice finally gives way. And the weather? Oof, it's just brutal. A temperature of minus 30 degrees Celsius? That's considered a totally normal day. So we've got a frozen, nearly empty, and incredibly cold land. The mystery of why anyone wants it just keeps getting deeper. Okay, so to really get why this is all blowing up now, we gotta rewind the clock. Because you see, America's thing for Greenland, it's not new at all. It's actually a strategic obsession that goes back more than 150 years. Yeah, this has been going on for a long time. The U.S. took its first shot right after buying Alaska back in 1867. They tried again in 1910. Then, after World War II, President Truman offered $100 million in gold. That's over $1 billion today for the island. Every single time, Denmark said no. But the reason was always the same: national security and controlling the Arctic. So who is actually in charge here? Who gets to say yes or no? Well, it's a little complicated. Geographically, Greenland is part of North America, but politically, it's an autonomous territory of Denmark. That means they run their own local affairs, but big things like defense and foreign policy, those are still handled by Denmark. And this little political detail is a super important piece of the puzzle. All right, so now we get to the first huge reason for all this attention. It's not about what you can see on the surface. It's about the mind-boggling fortune buried deep, deep under all that ice. Geologists believe Greenland is sitting on one of the world's biggest stashes of rare earth elements. Think of these things as the vitamins for all our future tech. They are the essential ingredients for everything from the magnets in electric cars to the chips that power AI. And, there's a reason the West doesn't like to mine them at home. The process can be a real environmental nightmare, which just adds another complicated layer to this whole thing. And this is where it gets really dicey for the West. Right now, China controls something like 90% of the world's supply of these critical minerals, and they've already started to limit their exports, which puts Western technology and defense industries in a really tight spot. The takeaway is pretty simple. Whoever controls the minerals in Greenland could shatter China's monopoly. Oh, and it doesn't stop with minerals. Not even close. According to geological surveys, there are at least 31 billion barrels of oil just sitting under the seabed of northeast Greenland. And that's only the one area they've really looked at. The total amount of untapped oil and gas could be absolutely astronomical. Okay, so there's treasure under the ice. We got that. But there's another reason for America's focus, and honestly, this one might be even more urgent. Greenland's position as a crucial military and communications hub. I mean, just picture a globe in your head. Greenland is smack dab in the middle of the shortest flight path between Russia and the United States. It is the ultimate strategic high ground in the Arctic. From a military point of view, if you control Greenland, you have a massive advantage over the entire region. And make no mistake, the U.S. is already deeply invested there. At the Pacific Space Base, they have this incredibly powerful radar system. Its whole job is to spot any ballistic missiles coming from Russia over the North Pole. And as if that's not enough, the critical undersea internet cables, the ones that connect North America and Europe, run right past its shores, making them a pretty tempting target. So, let's recap. We've got history, we've got a treasure trove of resources, and we've got a critical military position. But now we get to the ultimate prize. The real game changer that almost nobody is talking about. And it's a future being created not by politics, but by our changing climate. For like ever, the Arctic Ocean was just this giant frozen dead end. But now, as that ice melts, a brand new sea lane is opening up, the Northwest Passage. Just think about a cargo ship going from China to London. Taking this new Arctic route is 9,000 kilometers shorter than going through the Suez Canal. That's a savings of 10 to 15 days of travel and millions of dollars in fuel for a single trip. This isn't just a shortcut, it's a complete revolution for global trade. And you can bet this has kicked off a brand new kind of Cold War, a race for control. Russia has a huge Arctic coastline, and it wants to control its part of the route and basically charge a toll. China is already planning its own Polar Silk Road to dominate this new commercial artery. And the United States, it looks at Greenland and sees the gatekeeper, the perfect spot to build the toll plaza at the entrance to this new global superhighway. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, the history, the treasure, the military base, and now this new global superhighway, you start to see what's really at stake here. This isn't just about buying an island. This is about controlling the 21st century, and the consequences of this fight could be severe. And this is where things get really tricky, because Denmark, they're a founding member of NATO, and the absolute core idea of NATO is that an attack on one is an attack on all. So if the United States, the leader of the alliance, were to just take territory from its own ally, well, the whole thing could just fall apart overnight. The ripple effects would just be massive, all over the world. The US would become the undisputed king of the Arctic, for sure. But the trust it's built with its European allies over 75 years, shattered. And yeah, China's mineral monopoly might be broken, but Greenland's incredibly fragile ecosystem and the culture of its indigenous people would face a huge threat from all that mining and military buildup. But maybe the scariest part of all this is the precedent it would set, the message it would send to the rest of the world, that the old rules are gone, that powerful countries can just take what they want from smaller ones. The entire global order that we've known could just crumble. So yeah, the Greenland puzzle is way, way more than just some weird real estate story. The fate of this massive island of ice could actually decide the future of global trade, the balance of world power, and the very rules that are supposed to keep our world stable. So the question that's now hanging over the frozen north is this: will Greenland be a place of cooperation or the flashpoint for the next world war?